Did you lift with your legs, right, Chief?
I'm sorry?
You lifted with your legs?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
All right, we'll call this regular session of the Public Health and Safety meeting of the City of Encinitas to order. I'm going to start with our first item on the agenda, which would be a roll call.
All right, good afternoon, Chair Morton,
Here.
Vice Chair Dominguez.
Here.
And Commissioner Andrade and Chesnowskis are both absent. Commissioner Mora.
Here.
Commissioner Selden. Here. And Commissioner Vaughn.
Present.
Thank you.
I will say that Commissioner Chesnowski submitted an email to me. He's got some comments, one that pertains to the voting of the chair, one that pertains to the work plan, and just some general, his thoughts and feelings that may become relevant in discussion that I'll express if he needs to, but he's not feeling well and wasn't able to make it. I'm also hearing from Commissioner Andrade that her kiddo is sick and she will not be able to make it. So we're at that. Feel like calling us to Pledge of Allegiance there?
We'll do it.
All right.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do not have any special presentations and/or proclamations, although my amazing son, Benjamin Morton, turned 18 today. I'm pretty happy about that, so take the chance. Do we have any communications from the floor?
We have a few requests for public speakers. Terry Ann Skelly, followed by Peggy Walker.
Good afternoon, Public Health and Safety, can you hear me?
I cannot.
Okay, I think you
Now
can
I
now.
can.
Okay, here we go. Good afternoon, Public Health and Safety. My name is Terry Ann Skelly. As a member of San Diego Alliance for Drug-Free Youth, I thank you for your service to us, especially young people here in Encinitas. Last week, my colleague Peggy Walker, who's here again tonight, spoke to you regarding pending legislation that we thought would be of interest to you. AB 762, which would prohibit persons from selling, distributing, or offering for sale a new or refurbished disposable battery-embedded vapor inhalation device in this state, or what we know from our youth work as e-cigarettes or electronic cigarette or a vaping device. Today, San Diego Alliance wants you to know, and by the way, I handed out a flyer that I think you guys got. Okay, great. Today, San Diego Alliance wants you to know that we also track research associated with marijuana use by teens. Several sources of research over the last 5 years has increasingly suggested strong correlation between mental health issues and adolescents' use of marijuana. A recent analysis of medical records of over 95,000 Northern California adolescents in the Kaiser Permanente medical care system indicated a correlation between having marijuana storefronts in town and the presence of medical diagnosis of psychotic, anxiety, and depressive disorders. Specifically, this research found that banning storefront cannabis shops was linked to about half the rate of psychotic disorders in teens, 52% lower compared to areas without bans. Another way to put it is teens who live 20 minutes away from the nearest cannabis store had about half the rate of psychotic disorders, 47% lower. Since we have 4 marijuana storefronts here in town, perhaps we need to recognize the association between the presence and teen mental health issues. Thank you for hearing my concerns this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I promise that I'm not going to come to every meeting, but I wanted to follow up on what Terry brought to you. I so appreciate the fact that you're interested in keeping kids drug-free. A couple of you have discussed in the past interest in that issue. So I wanted to follow up by suggesting that the city has been so active in smoke policies, smoke-free policies, that I hope we could be as active in marijuana-free policies. And we can't stop the sale of marijuana, but one thing that we can control is the degree of potency. And I wanted to ask you, as you consider your work plan and health issues, to consider the idea of potency caps. Potency today, well, when I was younger, 2 to 7%. Now it's 90%, 98% edibles, and it in fact is so strong that a lot of regular users cannot find low dosage. They don't want to use this high dosage every day. Not that it's a good thing to use any of it, but it's impossible to find low dosage. So our kids, what they get a hold of is very high. The edibles, the vapes, the vape juice is very high potency. So I just wanted to ask you if you would put that on the back of your minds and consider potency caps. Local jurisdictions certainly have the prerogative of making policy that would cap potency. Not only would it serve children, it serves across the board ages. And I brought a handout to share with you just how the high potency, especially is impacting older people. You might want to take a look at it, but just to mention a few facts. Potential harms of cannabis use on older adults. Cardiovascular, it's very bad for your health. Respiratory, gastrointestinal conditions, stroke, sedation, cognitive impairment, falls, motor vehicle injuries, and drug interactions, and psychiatric disorders. So maybe if we put a cap on some of this marijuana, we could keep the psychiatric orders of psychosis down. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to any changes to our agenda.
There are no changes to the agenda.
Excellent.
I just wondered, we have the, where is it? The work product from last time on the, what we're working on the, on our work plan. Is that going to be, can we have that in writing, or is it in here? What is?
We'll get, when we're into the work plan, just a couple seconds, and we'll
Okay.
see about the staff.
Okay.
Because we're not going to change the agenda
Okay.
on that. You're just asking for information, correct?
I think I think it is, it should be in the agenda, but I just don't have the supporting document.
Okay. We'll move to the approval of the minutes.
I just had one comment because I didn't see minutes from last meeting.
Those were not included, just all the ones prior.
Okay.
Are they're not available yet, or?
Not yet, no.
Okay, that's.
From Mondays.
Yeah, because it's so soon, yeah.
I think we have a second. Go ahead and vote.
I'm sorry, who made the first to approve? Okay, and that's all the minutes listed in the agenda?
March 10th, March 17th, March 22nd, March 31st, and April 14th.
And the second was from Commissioner Mora? Thank you.
So if you can hit that button right there,
Yeah, no, to talk, right?
then you get to talk.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I might need some help on voting. We'll see.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
I need a second too to remember how to pull the vote up. Give me 1 second, sorry.
I second the
It's been a
motion.
little bit since we've been in this room, so.
Yeah.
I pulled.
Okay, it should be on your screen now.
See the motion in progress, motion on the floor. I'm not
Oh.
seeing the,
How about now?
there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move to our action items. We have two actions that we're considering today. First and foremost will be the finalization of the 2025 Public Health and Safety Commission work plan. After that, we'll move to a vote for the next year's Public Health and Safety Commission Chair and Vice Chair. I'll just make a couple comments and then noted that you have some questions as well about material. So some clarifications, staff worked really hard, and they reported some results of some conversations that they had with city council and the city themselves. There was some discussion about the purview when to start, like aligning our work plan with the budget, like the fiscal budget, so June to June. We got clarification. We are aligned currently with June to June. And we're not quite sure where we got the idea that we, was a year-long, 2025, and that what the work plan covers. Maybe because we started in the middle of the year or not in the middle of the year, but this work plan will cover from June well, when it gets adopted next meeting through to the end of the fiscal year of 2025, right? So into 2026, because that's the fiscal year we're talking about, right? 2025, 2025-6. So it's kind of a win for us as far as that goes. So I will remind everybody that we have submitted a plan for 2025. It was sent back to us. We were asked to align our goals for the work plan along with the draft safety plan, which is part of the general plan for the city of Encinitas. There is we didn't receive any specific comment about what we did the year before, and received a pretty stern ask that anything that we do move forward, make sure that it follows a SMART goals idea, meaning the things that we have should have outcomes that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. I will say that why we didn't receive support or review of the work we did previously, one of the items that was really important for all of us, we all kind of wanted when we submitted, was clear direction from City Council, right? And we did ask that. And so with that in mind, we have received clear guidance from them on what we wanted. I think that's a good thing for us. And that's really what we're working towards right now, is trying to find measurable opportunities that will have an impact in a way that is effective and meaningful over the next year. And I think, using our own words, we can say an idea of this: if we prioritize everything, we prioritize nothing. And so our hope at the end of this work plan is that there's going to be a lot of stuff that's not going to get talked about when you compare it to what was previously done. And we can't do everything, but we should have an eye to things that we'll be effective with and will be meaningful. So with that being said, I think the way I would like to go is everybody had sort of some ideas about what they'd like to present. But before I do that, any clarifying questions about what's going on? I'll start with Commissioner Selden.
Yeah, I thought what we were doing was the last special meeting, that was just a week ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had a product of that is a drafting process.
Mhm.
And I thought that we would be starting from that today to refine on that plan.
Mhm.
But I don't have it.
Mhm.
And also, I thought it would be in the minutes, and there's no minutes.
Okay.
So that's where I'm thinking, we're not starting from scratch, we're starting from spending a whole meeting time on it last week.
Okay.
That's what I'd like to see.
Okay, so we've prepared an updated format of what we'd like to see finally. And I believe if we ask Marie, she's going to be able to show us that document as well. And we'll be able to review it on the screen. So we'll have that. And, you know, I think the things that we'll talk about, I'm happy to use that as our guiding point from where we go right now, to guide where we're going. Because the things that people are I'm expecting to talk about right now were the things that came from that document that we talked about. So we actually are not starting at ground zero. But, you know, for instance, I know Commissioner Vaughn is going to talk about the homeless action plan and homelessness. I know Commissioner Dominguez has an interest in the public safety videos, and Commissioner Mora and Commissioner Chez were tasked with looking at some of the fire opportunities and seeing what's going on there. So that's my recollection of the three things that we're actually going to be talking about.
And I was asked to see from County Health and Human Services about there were some issues where there was support at the city level that isn't, and what isn't in terms of other aspects of Health and Human Services, so I can report back on that.
Okay. Would you like to start our conversation? Do you have a work plan idea or initiative that you'd like to propose?
Well, it's actually really simple.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Selden, can you turn your microphone on and talk into it, please? Because it's not picking up any of your
Okay.
Thank you very
conversation.
much.
Thank you.
Okay. I was asked to report back on the issue of the County Health and Human Services when Commissioner Vaughn had reported that they were no longer providing a county or two county personnel in being stationed here at the city if there were cutbacks that were affecting other aspects of Health and Human Services with the changes at the county. And I did check with the county public health officer and discovered that there's no other changes. It was specifically about homeless services. So so essentially that's good. I mean, it's not good, but in terms of the other things, it's good. So we don't have any problem in having gaps in city-county interaction and collaboration on the health side. That stays the same.
Okay. Thank you very much. The remaining gentlemen, is there either three of you want to go first with the presentation of your ideas for the work plan?
I see it up in front of us, so just from top to bottom, start at number one and work our way down, if it's okay with the rest of you.
I mean, I'm happy to entertain whoever wants to go first. So if you'd like to go first, Commissioner Moore, it's fine.
Oh, go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think I sent something out. I don't know that if all of you got it. Have you got it? No, that's... Yeah, I actually have the stated goals, the deliverables, and the general plan alignment put together for the two items that I would like to see on the work plan, and I'll just send them down to you. I don't know that there needs to be much of a presentation on this because we've discussed it already, but the first one is having to do with trying to get the sheriff's media relations in the city to allow us, I guess would be the best way to put it, to do the...
You have one more?
Yes, to do the work that's necessary to make sure that, the social media content that the sheriff puts out regarding crime prevention and current crime trends are delivered through the social media platforms of the city. So to that end, what I did was I sent Commissioner Vaughn and Morton and the commissioners that have been here before have already seen my presentation. So I just basically sent it to Commissioner Selden, Commissioner Mora, and Commissioner Chesnowski to view. And I think Chesnowski made some comments about it in support. So you can see what I'm asking to be included in the work plan, and then what I see as the deliverables, and the general plan alignment. So if there are any questions or discussion about it. or
I've got one
opposition?
question, if I may.
Yes.
Have you spoke to the sheriffs yet, to the SO, in regarding the support?
I have, and this was actually, it was in the work plan last year, and I tried and tried and tried, but I never did get any clear answer from Sheriff's Captain. So, my intent is to keep trying. He said he was making an attempt, but, he's a busy guy, so I don't know that he, I don't know that he put a lot of attention to trying to accomplish this, but considering that, we need to be the ones to take the ball and run with it, I'm willing to do that and willing to go to whoever I have to go to try to make it happen. And I'm just looking for support from the city because we're going to need that, and of course support from the other commissioners.
Apologies for asking these questions as I'm new to the commission, but so what's the process in regards to then uploading that onto the city's social media platforms or making those announcements? I'm unaware of that process.
Would you be able to comment on that and how the process that is involved in order to get those videos over and the relevance of that?
So city policy actually is we cannot take another agency or entity's, like in this case, their videos and actually post it to our website. If the sheriff's department were to post that onto their social media, we can repost either onto the city, on the city's or the fire department's social media, but we can't take, like I said, and actually take those videos and post them in their entirety.
So
Or
this is...
or links.
Or link? No linking?
We could provide a link, but we can't actually take those videos, and so we can link out to it.
Right, you mentioned that to me the other night, and this is the first I've heard of this. When Lois Yum was working with us, she said that all we would need would be the Sheriff's Department's approval to be able to do that. And now you're saying that we just can't do it. So if that's the case, that we can't do this, then I don't see any need to put this in the work plan. I mean, I don't know where we're going with this. If
I think there's some opportunities what we can do without the work plan. So we have a public safety page. We can add in public safety links to the sheriff's webpage so that it would go straight to them, and we can put topics on there with the link. But the video itself, per the city's policy, is that we cannot take a separate organization and throw it onto ours. You see that a lot with on the fire side with OES or other information that's getting sent out by other agencies. We still can't put that on ours even though we like it. We have to link to it or share theirs on our social media or re-share it that way. We can't just put it on our social media or our website straight from their video. But we can do a link. We can put up maybe a public safety page that would be in addition to, if you would like more information about, you put the topics down that the sheriffs have, and then they can click on it. It will be automatic straight to their webpage, and then they can watch the video there. So there's a way we can do it. It's just not a straight post into ours.
And then I wanted to add to, particularly this first one, we say schedule a presentation at the next city council meeting. It's not a lengthy process, but you certainly could just present during open communications.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
At any time, and I could provide a time donation for sure. Like we could all show up, and give you 3 minutes each if we're all in there, and that's a way in public comments you could possibly get that forward.
Right, and that was my intent, to go to city council and actually show them the value of this and try to figure out a way to accomplish it. And I'm more than willing to do that, and I would appreciate the support of the other commissioners. But what you're saying, Marie, and what you're saying, Chief, is the first time I've heard of this, because in all my discussions with Lois, it's always been that all I had to do was get permission from the San Diego Sheriff's Department media. So I don't know what's accurate.
I think we can trust chiefs.
But she is the IT person.
Lois?
Well, she was the PIO, which is close. I mean, she would need to know that stuff. Yes, correct. I think if you look at our public safety page and the resources page we have, it follows the policy of the city where we provide links to those separate agencies. So we're following the policy, and we'll send you the policy so that you can see it for your own eyes. But yeah, that's the direction we have to go.
If I may add on to that, I mean, I think Commissioner Dominguez, I think there's a way tied into the gap analysis around our public education. So if we look at some of those key areas that came out of the gap analysis, that was focused on wildfire, but there's things that we can do around that the Sheriff's Department has around public safety, around alert and notification, communication that we already develop and that we push out related to different hazards. I use the gap analysis as an example because I know Sheriff's Department does have some communication around preparedness. You know, again, alert and notification, their high-low system, things like that. We can package that into our public education. So I think that's a nice way to complement what the city and staff is already doing here, you know, and with one of our partners, the Sheriff's Department. And we can link out to when they push that information out, we can definitely, you know, make sure that that's part of our community education, public education plan. So I think there's a way to put this into the work plan and be able to, you know, to some extent, you know, maybe meet the intent of what you were looking to have done.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to meet with anybody that could show me what that might look like and figure out what we need to do with whatever our stated goal is going to be for the work plan as it relates to this issue.
But I think for that item, I think we're seeing that this won't show up on the work plan currently now. Is there another, do you
Well,
want to your attention? Okay, Commissioner Selden? Sorry.
You speak, but.
Okay, because I had on here request to speak.
Sorry,
Okay.
I apologize.
What I think, to clarify, we cannot put just the video on our site, but we can accomplish the same thing by saying for a link to the videos and then have a link to whatever this other site is, and then it would have that. So it's like one extra step, but if we have the clarifying information, then that would do it. So we should be able to, with that mechanism, get this out, right? There's nothing against that. It's just, the link won't be videos. The link will be to whatever this other site is, and then it'll just say, go to this site and click on this or something, right?
Okay, yeah, sure. I'm willing, I'd like to see what that looks like. But I'm not sure why we wouldn't include it in our work plan. Why this shouldn't be in our work plan.
It should be.
I think the emergency manager had a suggestion for how to put it into the work plan. Was that right?
I know, I'm just responding to what.
That's what I thought you heard.
What the chair said about it's not going to be in our work plan, so. But
thought
if, Marie, if you have a suggestion on how that might work out, then, let's work through it and get it done.
Currently, this is our current public safety webpage. So let me take a step back. When you come into public safety off the city's website, if you scroll down, you'll see here on the left-hand side, it says law enforcement. So this really does link out to law enforcement resources. So we've got e-bikes, the crime map, Safe Encinitas. So it kind of provides an overview of what the Sheriff's Department does. But this is something that we could, I'm just thinking, Commissioner, where we could add some additional links in here. This is really on the crime analysis, but we could probably, there are some things that I'm going to say that may not, just kind of thinking about which ones, because you sent some great examples of some of those videos that you were, and I took the time and watched each of those. We could always look to add them here if we wanted to, in addition to linking them in to public education that we do. So that might be But does that give you an idea of what I was
like
talking
that.
about?
I like that. I like that a lot, and I just, I don't know, do we want it in the work plan, or, I mean, it's up to,
Right, that we're having the discussion.
because I think it's important. I think it's an important issue. I mean, communication, it's just like, you know, on the fire side, that's a big part of, you know, you keeping people safe, right? So for us to be able to send those incredible videos out, I think positively affects public safety. And we have these resources out there, and we're not distributing them to people, right? Other than through one vehicle, and that being, you know, the Sheriff's Department's website, which I'm just looking for another place to put it.
Sure.
That's under the city umbrella.
So, Chair Dominguez, I want to like set us up for success with the city council. And just, I see that you note that it says that there's general plan alignment in the public education and the community engagement section. Maybe I can get some help from staff. Is there alignment in the safety portion of the general plan as we were instructed for this, something like this? I mean, I'm not debating that it's not a good idea. I'm just saying that to make sure that we're following what they asked us to do, that it's in.
You
it's in
could try
safety.
S1A and S15.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Dominguez also added on the general plan, it hits 1.5 on public education, 2.2 in the community engagement. So I think, you know, we can definitely connect it into the public education. And if I could add just a little bit for the work plan side of it, you know, I'm going to read what Commissioner Dominguez put is in a partnership between the Public Health and Safety Commission, the San Diego Sheriff's Media Relations, and the City of Encinitas IT, Multimedia, and Spatial Intelligence Division, repost and deliver Sheriff's Department's already produced crime prevention content videos targeting current public safety concerns on all city social media platforms. If I could add a friendly change to it, it would just pretty much say all of that except for the very end and put to incorporate into our public safety website. And then we can push it out through there, work with you to make sure it looks how the Public Health and Safety Commission wants it to look and has all the video links that you want to be there. And then we can, you know, make that as part of the work plan, if that would be a friendly suggestion for it.
If I may just add one piece just from a procedural standpoint, actually, the fire department is responsible for updating its web pages, so it would be the responsibility of the fire department to make those changes and updates. So it would not be working with IT. We work in partnership with IT, so we would be making those updates to the web page, or the web pages.
I appreciate the suggestions, and thank you.
Does that hit what you're looking for? I guess
Yes,
is my
it
question.
does, it
Okay.
does.
I think that removes some steps that are included in here because they'd be more direct if they were to do that. But it's a great idea, and it's relevant, and it does tie into those safety elements right there. But that gets rid of a couple of those steps that I think the partnerships don't have to be formalized as such when they can add the links, if I'm hearing correctly.
It's not exactly what I wanted to see, but I think it's real close. And I appreciate you.
So as we're reading it, we would say, in partnership between PHSC and San Diego Sheriff's Media Relations and the Fire Department with the City of Encinitas, repost and deliver the Sheriff's Department's already produced crime content videos targeting current public safety website. Is that the only amendment that we were talking about? That makes sense?
Yeah, unless Commissioner Dominguez has something else he wants to add into that. I'm just trying to get to where you want it to go, but if there's more, I mean, that would be at your direction.
Well, I think what Chair Morton said is right. If the IT is not going to be involved in it, we could just replace, I don't know if you want to specifically identify the fire department or just put city staff or however you want to do that, because you guys would be taking on the job. And then And then in the last portion, what you said about instead of all social media platforms, the public safety page, is that what we're calling it, or then that would work also? Okay.
Webpage, yeah.
Marie, you got all that?
We'll come back to that. Chair Morton, if I may ask a favor, I had taken our work plan, and this might be to Commissioner Selden's point, I had taken the work plan that we had kind of went through and reviewed and transferred it over into, I think I was sharing with you, Chair Morton, over into an Excel workbook to be able to kind of input that. Are you okay if I go ahead and bring that up now?
Yeah, it works for me.
Okay.
I mean, but if we just look at the old document and just make sure that I captured everything, because I
Sure.
think those are the 4 things that were on it, and just make sure that we're not missing anything.
So I transferred over, and I'll,
So that's the new one, can you
Correct.
show-
So
yeah,
to your
thank you.
ask-
Yep,
went through, and this was the discussion from the last meeting.
yep, so we got number 2 up there.
And if I just might add, that's changed, right?
Correct.
Yes, okay.
So this is what was transferred over. Everything with the strike through is obviously the ones that are removed. 7, as it exists, was transferred over. I know there'll be discussion on that item. Item 9 was also transferred over. And then the special project, that one is complete. So that one was not transferred over because the gap analysis has been completed. And then this one, identifying emergency opportunities and threats, that was transferred over. And these other items were removed from the work plan. And then this, if I remember correctly, Chair Morton, we talked about this was not going to be moved onto the new work plan. Is that correct, these last 2 items, 14 and 15?
Right.
Okay. So then what I did was the ones that were remaining were transferred over onto this Excel spreadsheet. So I'll kind of walk through this quickly. I know, Chair Morton, you already talked about the SMART goals, but this has kind of
Oh, we're sharing this.
what the goal is, the deliverables. We'll add in what the safety element section and page number is. Not tonight, but at some point, we'll kind of look at what the priority is, kind of identify the progress so when we get started on that, when the start date and end date will be, additional time, staff time for this, again, the amount of time staff is going to need. Is there a fiscal impact, a yes or no, and then a notes section. If there's other areas we'd like to add, you can let me know that, but these are the 4 items that were moved over, and this is the item that you were talking, I'm sorry.
Number 1.
Actually, let me go back.
Formerly number 2.
Yeah.
So just when we talk about what was transferred over and what might have been lost, before we knew that our plan year was July to June, we had talked about rolling some activities into the completed gap analysis goal. And so by closing out the completed gap analysis, we're losing some of those activities that we might have had ongoing, like fire safe councils and emergency signage.
Yeah, and my intent was, like the Fire Safe Council and anything else that's up there, to talk about them. I mean, we have this, that was one of the things we talked about, so I think that we can certainly add things here, right, that are there. I think anything is open, right?
Can I make
Does that clarify that? Yeah.
I would agree to that, looking at what you presented our last meeting.
Commissioner Moore, I'm going to just help you out. So there's a speaker button.
Okay,
And we'll get you, and I haven't been doing a very good job, but things are getting a little ahead of us. So Commissioner Selden?
Okay.
Over
what-
here, I'll try to get you, help you out.
What do I do here?
So can I speak now then?
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay. I just, when I look at these goals here, and I know it was tobacco, drugs, alcohol among youth, but based on other things I know about and have been mentioned elsewhere in communication in this meeting, it isn't just youth. I mean, there's adults that have problems with various substances.
Commissioner Selden, if you don't mind, that is the next item that he's going to talk about. And if I could just get him. if I
okay,
could
I'm
just get
sorry.
him
I thought
to-
we were looking at all this.
I feel like we're almost done with it, but I just want to make sure that we're done with this item, right? Do we want to develop
I want to
a
make
little
sure
bit
that
more?
I've captured
Thank you.
the goal. So if,
Number one?
Are we still on the public safety?
Yeah, we need the other side of the paper.
Oh,
There we go. Yeah.
okay.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
So the difference in this stated goal would be something to the effect of taking out City of Encinitas IT and putting in whatever you guys think is appropriate to identify that you would be helping us with this work. And then at the very end, on all city social media platforms, but on the city's public safety page or something to that effect.
Right, you could line through right from concerns all the way to the end, and you could just say targeting current public safety webpage. If that
You-
works. So we would cut that off and just say public safety webpage.
That's fine.
okay, so I want to make sure, in partnership between Public Health and Safety Commission, San Diego Sheriff's Media Relations and Fire Department,
Mm-hmm. Repost.
okay. So it's going to be everything deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one was on the city. Does that, what I've have for item,
That looks good. The third line, just take all, the word all out of it, the last word there.
oh, thank you.
And
If I may make a suggestion that we're going to provide links. So do we want to, instead of kind of because I see two pieces. One, we can repost. That's on the social media side. We can provide links on the website. Do you want to make those kind of two separate pieces?
well, I thought we couldn't repost.
We can repost on their social media. So if the sheriff's department posts to, let's say, their Facebook, we could repost something that they've posted. We can provide links, as the example that I gave.
Let me jump in here.
Okay.
The social media is new to me, so I learned that reposting it's not us taking their content and putting it on our social media. It's basically reposting their content that they've posted and just sharing it through our social media, if that makes sense. So it's it's kind of weird, but we can't use their content as our original content, but we can share their content that they're put on their social media through our social media, if that makes any sense. But
Chief, if we just generalize the language to share the sheriff's department content, would that make some of these distinctions go away?
yeah, and I think we can make it more vague so that you have more, as we get to the deliverables, we can figure that out later on. So.
I agree with that.
Are we changing any of the deliverables, or are we going with what's listed here?
I looked at this and I'm thinking just the fourth deliverable might have to be changed, or maybe not. We've already identified staff to liaison with us.
So I think you're keeping number 3, develop a practice by which public health and safety will identify and approve relevant videos to be reposted or whatever term.
Well, that's probably good for discussion, and I don't know if you want to discuss it now, but my thought was that I could be the one to monitor what content is out there, and then I don't want to be the one making decision what goes in there. Maybe there's something inappropriate, but we could send it to everybody or something and take a look at it and then just vote yay or nay.
I think it's a great time to have a discussion, but I think that would be like, once the work plan gets approved, we would develop it.
Yeah, because it is
That's a good idea, right?
procedural.
Yeah, so I
and-
think
yeah.
we need to
Okay.
move through a couple of the other
All right,
identities.
let's move on then.
Yeah,
I agree
so
with
I
that.
think we're keeping number 3 as a deliverable, and I'm open for feedback from anybody else on this. I think we do we need permission, or is that striking? Is that a thing we have to do? And that's a question to the staff. Does that seem like an appropriate deliverable? Something else to get approval to do this, or does it go away?
Number 3?
Number 2, obtain permission from staff to repost content. Do we need it, or we already have it?
I think that's part of what we would go through as the work.
Number 3,
plan
right?
is to go
Number
through
3, that's the process, right? Do you still want to keep schedule a presentation as a deliverable, or do you want to take that on through just public comment and our support at the city council meetings as another option or another way to get that done?
Okay, go ahead and take that out,
Okay,
and then I don't think we need permission,
okay.
so we can take that out as well.
We're keeping develop, and then we've already identified the staff. And then, if possible, it seems like a knowledgeable or good goal, retain approved crime prevention videos on city's website.
Yes.
We could critique that. So those would be the 2 deliverables, Marie, that we're talking about, the develop and the retain.
Okay,
Number 3 and number 5.
I'm updating right now.
Yep. I think that's good.
Okay.
Chair Morton, I'm one step behind, so if you can give me the other deliverable.
The only thing,
Number 5, retain approved crime prevention videos.
Okay.
Commissioner Dominguez?
yeah, I just wonder if, as the city council reads this, if they're going to question, well, who's going to do this? So I don't know if keeping identify IT or identify city staff to liaison should stay in there or not.
How about as an IE, let's just combine them, right? Like an
They
example.
know we're
example? Okay.
we're doing it.
Well, then take it out. There's no sense in having it in
Yeah,
there.
no sense in
if
having it. They know that we're the liaison to this commission, so we'll end up helping with that.
Okay.
And
We're gonna keep
just
that. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, one other piece to add on. This is already part of the conversation on kind of part of that gap analysis when we're looking at public education is an update to the public safety web pages. It's already, and even prior to the gap analysis, it's a conversation that I've had with our IT department on updating. So that's a conversation we've had.
That's a great point for us to note that Public Health and Safety Committee is supporting the city staff in their development of the gap analysis. Thank you. Anticipating a larger discussion around the homeless plan, I'm going to ask that we turn over to you, Commissioner Vaughn, to talk about.
What is the one that I just wanted, the drug and alcohol one, isn't that before that?
I do want to do that. I'm just anticipating a larger and more robust conversation about the homelessness. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just have that conversation first.
Isn't that like after the list that had the youth smoking and stuff?
I'm taking some privilege in putting a higher priority in my mind and talking about that first.
So you'll go back to the other afterwards?
I'm sorry,
Absolutely.
Commissioner Selden, can you make sure that you're using your microphone? Thank you.
I was. I had it on.
You have to be close to it, too.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, and be a little closer, sorry.
All right. So can we project this for anybody that's doesn't have it in front of them? This is what you guys distributed. So as folks know, last week I was tasked with coming up with SMART goals around the homeless action plan and homelessness response more generally. So Tuesday morning, I reached out to staff from the Homeless Response Housing Manager's Office and the Sheriff's Captain. On Thursday morning, I met with the Sheriff's Captain and his administrative lieutenant. And goals 2 and 3 come directly from that conversation. And I sent these reports in earlier this afternoon, and I did hear back from the housing manager shortly after that. So the overreaching goal here, I listed as work to reduce homelessness in Encinitas. That's been on the work plan previously after the updating the homeless action plan part. And I think all of these efforts are sort of aligned around that broader, longer-term ambitious goal, which isn't necessarily a SMART goal by itself, but it's the overarching thing that's driving all of these individual actions. For alignment with the general plan and the City Council's focus areas, this aligns with the council priority of effective and reliable city services. It aligns with the homeless action plan as at least a draft document at the moment, and the draft document of the safety element goals S1A and S15. And then to try to make this a little bit more drilled down into specific actions and have the metrics and time-boundedness to make them smarter, I have 5 larger level goals, each with some specific tasks under them. The first one would be to support the homeless action plan update per the council's June 4th direction to staff. And the minutes of that meeting have been published and are on the agenda for approval this Wednesday. So I used the approved motion to try to align these activities with the council direction. And I would envision us holding a public hearing to review the draft HAP, collect public comment, and then forward to City Council with a recommendation of approving it or approving it with changes or sending it back to the draft, sending it back for additional rework, depending on how we respond to the quality of the report. In parentheses, when I've tasked an item with PHSC, and that means all of us, and generally in a public forum like this, and in parentheses, when it's DV or DV comma question marks, those are items that I'm assuming I would be doing, or I and any other commissioners who want to volunteer to help with that would be doing offline between meetings, sort of doing our homework part from last week's admonition. Number 2 is really a partnership with the COPS team. So this is the community-oriented policing part of the Sheriff's Department. These are the folks that do the homeless encounters. And in that conversation, they thought that it would be really helpful if we could help them manage a list of resources to arm the deputies with, so that when they're encountering somebody experiencing homelessness, they have good resources available to them. And then in aligning with the commission's or the city council's direction, capturing metrics on what's the consequence of those. What resources did the person experiencing homelessness want? What was the deputy able to offer? And if the person declines the services, any rationale that they give at that time for why. And then periodically, we could review those outputs, the metrics from the police department, and based on what's working and not working and where the gaps are that we're seeing, we could suggest recommendations to update the list of services. The third one here is supporting the new HAP goal or Homeless Action Plan Goal 4, which is the new enforcement goal that will be going in. And the sheriff's representatives thought that having a review here where we look at the statistics around the enforcement and the outcomes would be a good way of publicly sort of tracking and giving transparency for the enforcement actions. The fourth goal here is about supporting the development of a citywide by name list. This was one of the priorities that we'd put out at the end of last year for the last year's homelessness ad hoc task list. And this is the best-in-class, built-for-zero model strategy for managing the city's homeless system-level responses. And what I'm offering in the first two of those is, because I'm a member of that HMIS Trust Network, I have access to the privileged information, the non-anonymized information about who's experiencing homelessness. And so I could play a role in helping to facilitate the comprehensiveness and the implementation of those things, again, sort of behind the scenes between meetings. But then we could, on a quarterly basis, review the aggregated, anonymized data to track the metrics on what's working and what's not working. Or I guess biannually is what I listed it here as. And then the third one was a little bit more of a catch-all, but it's to support the response staff as requested, and to adapt the strategies to what data is emerging over time. And for A here, support and facilitate outreach activities around homelessness, one idea that had come up with the Sheriff's Department meeting was to facilitate the sheriffs being able to do outreach with some of the folks that do the homeless service providing. And that would be this whole community-oriented policing strategy of building rapport with the community. And they were sort of excited about that opportunity, and I did sort of socialize that with one of the agencies that I work closely with, and the service providers are also thinking that that would be a great thing, is to break down the barriers between the police and the people experiencing homelessness. And then case conferencing, it was in the staff agenda report, and it's a long-term strategy for improving the homeless response. And staff would lead that, but we would support that, or I would support that when that came around. So these are the sort of specific ideas that I had and tried to put into a sort of SMART goal format, and open it up for anybody's thoughts on this.
I see Commissioner Moore here first.
Thank you. That's very comprehensive. I do have some questions. I've not had the chance to review the homeless action plan. I'm still playing catch up. But I just have some questions for my knowledge. The HMIS Trust Network, I don't know what that is, if you could share.
Absolutely. So HMIS is an acronym. It's like Human Management Information Systems, Homeless Management Information Systems, and it's the county-wide database of people that experience homelessness and all of the homeless response providers and you have to be certified and trained on it. There's requirements around privacy and how the data can be shared and not shared. And so the trust network is those people that are inside with access to the database.
Thank you. And then question number 2. So this compiles a name of those, or the names of those whom are homeless in this community, and then you track how often they're encountered by services?
Yeah, so a by name list is really asking the question, who is experiencing homelessness in our community? What are we doing? How are we trying to help them? What's the outcome of that attempted assistance? Are we able to get people into housing? Are we able to get people into drug and alcohol treatment, or et cetera?
Thank you. And then if I may ask one question over to Marie. Is the city currently doing any of these things? And again, I apologize for not reviewing the homeless action plan, but I would think there's some work being done there.
Yeah, I think, Dan, you talked with Melinda. Could you give a summary of the conversation you had with her?
Yeah, so I had reached out last Tuesday morning to try to get her input before drafting the goals, and that didn't happen because we didn't connect until about 3 o'clock today. And so I invited her to come and provide feedback to the commission. She was going to go ahead and share this document with Patty and get back. She was nervous that there's overlap between what we're proposing and what she feels like she's been tasked with doing. And I tried to emphasize that, this is supporting the implementation of these things. And there wasn't a firm resolution. I think the idea would be that if the city council gives direction in approving the work plan to put the homeless action plan through this commission, then that's what they'll do. And if they don't want to come through this commission, then they'll make that clear in the review of our work plan.
Yeah, if the Public Health and Safety Commission decides to go forward with some of these goals, there's going to be a large amount of overlap that we already have staff and hiring a staff member to do. So it'll be up to you guys to move this forward or not. I would just know that the council's probably not looking for overlaps on a lot of things, but that's up to you guys to move forward or not.
And
Vice Chair Dominguez?
Oh, sorry. Just to respond to that, just from my perspective, knowing that when I was appointed to the council, it was largely because of my experience in this space, or this commission. It was largely because of my experience in this. And so from my perspective, I'd like to offer myself as a resource to help do this. It makes sense to me. And if City Council wants to take us up on that, great.
Vice Chair Dominguez?
Yeah, so it looks good. I do agree there's probably some overlap. But, in writing this, Dan, I mean, you really give them something to think about, too. It's not whether they adopt it on the work plan or agree to all of it. You're giving them something to think about, which I think is important. One of the things, a couple of things, that's the overall thing I have to say about this, but I would support you. You said that this local service providers and staff develop a list of resources. When I was a young deputy, we had lists of resources, so they have those already. Would it be more appropriate just to maybe write something like an updated list of resources, because those resources do change, right? Don't they?
Yeah, I think that's the idea, is to keep it live with those that are likely to be the most impactful, and then monitor in real time what is useful on the street and what isn't, and why not, and where are the gaps, and keep it live so that it's current and relevant and effective. And this really came from the captain and the lieutenant's suggestion. One of the challenges they've had fairly recently is the HOPE team is not really in place at the moment because there's no social workers to partner with the cops' response units. And historically, they've relied very heavily on the expertise of the social workers. And so part of this is to sort of supplement that expertise as initially a little bit of a Band-Aid, but then also to be able to implement the council's vision of data, measuring, monitoring, managing in real time. And so by having the feedback loop of what's working and what's not working from the deputies and counters, we can adapt and manage it over time.
Okay, and then the last question I have is related to number 3, enforcement. And, that's sort of, when I was a young deputy, we would write citations and make arrests, and then the district attorney or the city attorney would decide whether or not to prosecute those cases. It didn't affect what we did. We made the arrest, we wrote the cite, and they decide whether they're going to prosecute or not. But, and I know we had a standing, I don't know if it was an unwritten policy or policy of not prosecuting these municipal codes, because I saw the meeting, the HAT meeting. I went through it all, and it was, mentioned there. And so is there a measurement tool, or is there something you could put in there that we could identify a measurement tool on how many cites are written to those homeless, how many prosecutions versus how many convictions? Because it does get frustrating for law enforcement to write citations and then nothing becomes of them, and you see the same person on the same street doing the same thing and taking the ticket and ripping it off in front of your face, and saying, they don't do anything about this stuff anyway. So
I think
if the
that's
policy is changing, where there was something mentioned, trust but verify, like
Yeah.
I don't want to put the city attorney behind the 8 ball, but I think it would be good to
I think that the
have
idea
some
here,
measurement tool, right?
exactly, and that's what that goal is specifically talking about, is having the police department report to us periodically on what is their enforcement activity and outcomes. And so that's an opportunity for them to, in a public setting, demonstrate their work towards enforcement. And this is something that was again part of that Thursday morning conversation. They were looking for some of that same kinds of help that you were talking about.
I'm wondering if you could write something in there that made it a little more, really make it stand out, so that it's something that.
Under 3A, are you calling out maybe just specifically giving examples of the enforcement statistics that we'd like to look at? Under 3A? Because I think he's given like a broad sort of goal of what we would do, but I think you're kind of calling out specific things we'd look at. Does that make sense?
Yes, like is there a tool that tracks how many citations were written to homeless individuals, who they were, because that makes a difference, right? We're probably talking about a small group that are breaking the law. We have 100 people here, there's probably 10 that
In the
routinely come to the attention of the sheriff. And then how many cites are written to them, and then what those cites are for, and then what became of those citations.
Yeah, in the interest of time, I think that falls into this sort of the same category before. I think we want to do those things, and then if we get approved to do it, we're going to have a discussion on what we measure. I think you nailed it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Perfect.
Commissioner Moore?
Yeah, a quick question for Chief Gordon. Chief, you mentioned that the city is hiring staff to take on some of these responsibilities?
Yes.
And what's that timeline?
Correct. Timeline, I'm not sure when the recruitment has been put out there. I know July 1st, the budget is approved, so we wouldn't hire anyone until at least July 1st. I'm not aware where they're at in the process for the recruitment itself, but they are hiring an additional person for the homeless outreach, a part of development services.
And again, my apologies for not reviewing the homeless action plan. I know it's a big document. Is that as a result of the recommendations made by that group in the homeless action plan?
Well, we had 2 positions prior, and then they both moved on. I'm not sure, what to call that at the moment, but There was some feedback from the sheriffs that we needed to at least have one person, and so that's when the reallocated some funds towards that position within development services for the homeless outreach.
And just to add to that, because it did come up on that conversation with Melinda earlier today, there's also an outsourcing of 2 outreach workers that would be contract positions. And so between those 2 things, they're kind of trying to fill the gap of the 2 people that have left over the last year.
And then I'll add, they also may mention that the law enforcement's hiring 2 people at $1 million specifically to help with homeless people as well as part of a budget.
Yeah, I mean,
So there's a lot of money being spent.
there's definitely that issue here in our community. I mean, we all see it every single day. Perhaps, if I may suggest, collaborating with this new person to see what efforts are being done and then how we can support those goals. I don't know if that's
Yeah, that's absolutely the intent, right? I've got support all through here. It's what can we do to help? And when the person hasn't been hired yet, there's nobody to ask.
right. Thank you.
Going to take this last comment from Commissioner Selden. I'll make a couple things, and then we can just narrow down the specific 5 things that I think that we'd add to the work plan. So, Commissioner Selden?
Okay, I thought when I first got on here, the impression I had was that we already have a homeless action plan. So there has to be a real clear reason why we're putting in a whole bunch of more stuff. And I think that's fine if the reason is that it needs to be updated, if the reason is that we've lost the county staff, if, something, but it needs to have some reason, because we already have a homeless action plan. It hasn't been in effect for that long, I don't think. So I just want to make sure when we had the direction by the council to shift some of the things we were doing, which may have included this, but so we already have a homeless action plan, we don't have to go there, and looking at the fire and that stuff, and now we're looking in general at public health and safety, we have to have some very specific reasons about why we need to keep the homeless issue in that. Because otherwise, I think it might just get kicked out again because we already have a homeless action plan.
I'm going to have some of the similar comments. So I solicited the entire council after we submitted our recommendations on 2024. I got a meeting with the mayor and the deputy, and they needed some introduction to the homeless, our recommendations, that came out. And I listened to subsequently at the meeting that wasn't recorded, the meeting before, when they were talking about the homeless action plan, I showed up, I stayed up, and I reminded the city council that we had provided recommendations on the homeless action plan. And the mayor said, we've seen it. When I went through and listened to the report, there was no mention of review of what we had done. However, some items that were recommended in there were carried over, like the hymns, right? And my key takeaway from our recommendation about the hymns was, we've been saying we're going to do this for a long time. We'd really like the city staff to do it. And the mayor and the city council, they're all on board with doing and getting it done. So on one side, they are asking us to make sure these things are aligned with the safety element, and the safety element is it's fire, it's law enforcement. This is out. I did do some reading. I looked at, if you look at the states, the general idea plan, while there are certain requirements in a safety element, there are things that are often found in a safety element, and there's a box, it's checked, it's green, and sometimes health elements, if the commission decides, are in the safety element. So it's not unfounded that this kind of work, and even in the mayor's comments, he said, look, if you guys are interested in doing it, it's there, it's possible. So before tonight, without seeing any clear alignment to the safety plan, I wasn't going to be in support of what was coming up. But listening to the comments, from it. I mean, Councilman O'Hare was very clear about utilizing the expertise of citizens to help us with this cause. He didn't call out Commissioner Vaughn. He called out, I think it was a Matt, and his last name S or something like that. They made recommendations to updating the plan, which are clearly aligned with some of the things that came from this commission. Whether or not they want to recommend that it was our idea that gave it to them and they had it already. And then we kind of talked about the duplicate effort, and I am like moved. Like, there's this part of me of like, let's not set something up that's just going to shut back in our face, but there is this part of me that's like, let's give them a chance to say no, right? If you don't ask, you don't hear. And to Commissioner Dominguez's point, like, these may be duplicative, but it is listed of things that somebody should be doing it, right? And to give the city staff a chance, the city council to decide if they want us to do it. Like, that's their point. So I really would like some help from the staff, if I could. Does it seem like there's a way we can, because I can give the recommendation of what I just said, right? I can say, look, Commissioner O'Hare, you said you wanted experts from the community participating. We are experts from the communicating that want. So I can give that sort of roundabout like argument for making it on part of the work plan. But do you see an alignment like clearly with the draft safety element as you see it, or are we really walking in like leading with our chin, and they're just going to knock us? If they wanted to, they could just knock it down and say this isn't aligned with the safety element. Is there anything there that that you see?
Yeah, I think there's parts of the safety element that this definitely would apply to.
Okay.
I'm going to let you guys decide whether you want to bring it to council or not.
Yeah, I get that. So is there anyone that stands out particularly egregiously that doesn't align in your opinion?
You guys would have to discuss these 5 and see
Yes.
which ones you agree with to bring.
Okay. I'll take that as I'm not going to give an opinion. You're certainly welcome to do that. All right. So is there anybody that wants to change significantly any of these 5 deliverables as Commissioner Vaughn is outlined in order to make it go through? Because I'm in support of all 5 of these.
I think it's too long. I mean, I'm looking at it as, they say we already have a homeless action plan, so we should just be mentioning enforcement if that's new, and the gap because of losing the 2 staff or something. Look at a couple of things and not this whole thing, or have a general language that it could fill in later. I think this would turn them off just too much. Mm-hmm. That's my thought on it.
So just for background, last week we talked about all of this not being what goes into the work plan. Mm-hmm. But some of this was just supporting detail for our discussion, and it could be available to them offline as they're reviewing it or whatever. My thought would be that you're just doing the 1-level deliverables and not the A, B, C level deliverables.
Okay, so
I would just ask then, what is the SMART goal? Because support is not measurable. It's not. So we need to detail this out, because we can give this as a goal, but supporting the homeless action plan update per council June 4th direction to staff means what? That's what we need on the staff to be able to put that into your goals, because right now I don't know how to measure that.
Yeah, I think number 3 could be aligned, specifically because we're talking about public review and statistics and gathering, and that was information that they're interested in doing. They asked for in that meeting, so I think that can easily fit the SMART goal metric.
Do we want to maybe just do only the PHSC items and take off the DV ones from the work plan?
Okay, so that would be removing number 2?
No, it's removing 1A,
Yep.
2A, 2B, 4A, 4B,
Thank you.
and 5B.
So, I think in other languages, they would say like a friendly amendment or changing what we're doing, and so. prioritizing. And that, we do in your list, she does, Marie does give a prioritization of the goals. So we could probably, because it is a lot, and sort of help draft that.
Just one question, if I may.
Yep.
Or do I gotta do the speaker button? I can ask away.
Go ahead, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
1A, service or resource to staff in updating the homeless action plan. Again, I apologize for my lack of knowledge on this. I was studying everything else for my.
He's suggesting striking that.
Oh,
He's
he did.
suggesting striking.
But I mean, is there a group that you could be a ad hoc member of to provide that expertise or something along those lines?
So yeah, I think it will fall to the person that hasn't been hired yet.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm hearing that we're in generally all support of 1B, 2C, 3A and B, 4C, and 5A. And I see that one, that's probably the one that is most vague, and there likely would be like, what's the support and facilitate outreach activities around homelessness?
We could drop 5 if we wanted to. I'm not wed
Yeah,
to it.
okay. I mean, I'm happy to leave it, but just, it seems like that.
Pretty sure I'll do the thing anyways.
Well, that's what's changed, right? Like, a year ago, it seemed like pretty clear direction we got, which is if it's not on the work plan, you're not doing it. And it seems like there's some flexibility with that. So Marie, were you able to follow that on what we're suggesting as deliverables?
I was, but I want to make sure that I understand actually what the goal is.
Mm-hmm.
So, because
the
I've highlighted, actually, just to review, the highlighted items are the ones that I believe that on the deliverables.
Yes.
But what I'm not sure is actually what the stated goal is going to be, kind of from that specific measurable.
I think, is the overarching goal still fund solidly the work to reduce homelessness in Encinitas? And then the deliverables fall underneath that. I think that's what 1A, 1B is.
So are these, just to confirm, are these separate goals then? If I'm looking at this, like this would be what I've highlighted here, that would be goal, and then this would be the deliverable for that goal?
I think this comes down to the formatting of a work plan question. There are now 4 sort of specific actions that we're proposing, all supporting a general effort to reduce homelessness in Encinitas. Reducing homelessness in Encinitas is obviously not a SMART goal by itself, but those 4 activities are specific, measurable, aligned, I think realistic, and there is a time element in them.
Right, so I think to make it, what I'm hearing is that number 1 is a goal, number 2 is a goal, number 3 is a goal, number 4 is a goal, and the deliverable is listed underneath it is the letter that's associated with it.
I'm fine with that.
We're talking about the homeless action plan, this overarching goal, that document right now. We're just refining that down.
No,
We're trying to
we're
figure out
talking
what
about
of that we
homelessness in
pull.
general, completely in general. The overarching goal is to work to reduce homelessness.
I understand that, but we're looking at that piece of paper now.
But for the HAP, it would just be, the deliverable would be 1B, which would be hold a public hearing to review the draft HAP update and forward with a recommendation to City Council, if they wanted us to do it.
This is bouncing back and forth between a white paper with black ink and a green thing. That's what's
Correct.
getting me completely confused. Once we're working on this white paper with the black on it, then we go back to how this fits in and work on more on the green. Is that where we're at?
Yeah,
Okay, because I
Yep.
just see different things moving around. Okay.
you
Don't
got,
like
you
it.
got, you got a good handle of it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you for the question.
okay.
And if you can, when you talk, push the red
Yeah.
button and get closer to the mic. All right. So we'll give Marie some time to get there. And then if you want to prep yourself there, Commissioner Dominguez, for the next, that would be awesome. And then I'm going to be looking at the document we received last time and suggesting some of these as well. Is there, while she's getting caught up, are there just a straw poll of anybody that you were interested in facilitating? But I mean, like adding to the work plan? Yeah.
Chaz wanted to do the fire safe councils.
Yeah, yeah, okay, good. So we'll have you there, because that's not currently there. You want to give me the 30-second, which ones you're talking about? By Marie's, just,
A general question on everything, because that was, my first meeting last time, so I was trying to pick up. So there's closeout objectives, and some of these are pretty simple.
yeah,
And the 20, and then they have 26, right? Initiatives.
yeah. So we can loop all of those, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm going to be coming to you asking, like, if you wanted to triage, prioritize which of these we do, with the idea that, if we're doing everything, we're going to wind up doing nothing. And so that's what we'll,
We'll go for on the 26 initiative, number 2.
oh, you can go ahead and speak in the microphone, just so we go, so which one are you thinking?
I'm thinking on, under 2026 initiatives, number 2, evaluation of a city-operated ambulance transport feasibility and community benefit.
Okay,
That is an ongoing, and I think an opportunity for a better service to the community.
okay,
Give me 1 second. Really don't have the background on number 3. I did do some reading on the Fire West community. I think there's work to be done there, but I don't know to what extent, to be honest with you. Certainly under 2025 closeout. Well, actually, these are both in the gap analysis, so there is some work ongoing on those. Is that correct?
there is, but we could support it and,
Finish it.
yeah, yeah. So if you had an opinion after looking at these,
Yeah.
if you had to pick a number, it sounds like you're liking the 2026 number 2.
Yep.
What else are you liking?
2025, 1,
Uh-huh,
number 2,
uh-huh.
and on 2026, number 1.
Okay. So we got a full bevy of things once again, which was part of the critique of what we had last time, which was, let's not do that. But we're talking about everything. Thinking that we're going to be able to get through this one, Commissioner Dominguez, pretty quickly. So, Maria, you feel ready, or do you still need more time? All right.
And then we'll go back to the green one, whatever was 2 that I was looking at before.
Is that the alcohol one?
Yep.
Yep, that's Commissioner Dominguez. That's what we're going to talk next. That's what we're going to do next. And if you could, when you talk, press the microphone and speak into the... On one instance, the HAP review really kind of showed exactly what the city wanted done, right? And how we, if they wanted us to help them, they they could tap us. So it was a nice gift.
Ready? We're ready.
All right. Commissioner Dominguez.
So the other stated goal was to evaluate and make recommendations on the city's efforts to reduce the use of tobacco, drugs, and alcohol amongst our youth. The deliverables, you have them listed there. I did think of some changes to some of the deliverables too. But why don't you review those and tell me what you guys think.
It's not just youth.
Okay, we can take that out. We can just say period at the end of alcohol.
Well, it'd be youth and vulnerable adults or something like that. I mean, you could say youth, but something else, because there's definitely issues with it.
I like youth and vulnerable populations.
I like that too.
Oh, in our community, and I mean, strike amongst our youth in the community, our community. That's everybody. It's an everybody problem. Certainly the youth are more susceptible, but if you're looking to clean that up, that would be my recommendation.
Is the goal to reduce the use of tobacco, marijuana, alcohol among consenting adults?
I like the focus of it, youth and vulnerable, like getting back to like you can't do everything, but if we focus on like the most vulnerable, like, because I support you, but let's have a voice for people that are having a little difficulty.
I did, when we got to number 2 on deliverables, considering the discussion about measurables, you know, and not having something so vague as just to encourage and support, what my thought was that we would change that to monitor the number of shoulder tap operations by the sheriff's department at our local liquor stores and bars. And then, so somehow we'd phrase that. So what my thought was that maybe we could have a representative from the sheriff's department give us give us a report on how many of those operations they did, you know, in a 12-month period. And then we would have that information for next year to see if they're continuing doing that.
Okay.
And then that was number 2 and under deliverables. So if you got that, Marie, monitor the number of shoulder tap operations by the sheriff's department at our local liquor stores and bars targeting the illegal sales of tobacco and alcohol. And I think I might even add ABC, alcohol. ABC does these operations also. And the sheriff would have information about that. I think it would be a good thing to have. And then that was on number 2. And then number 3, monitor the number of citations and enforcement actions. If you're ready, Maria, I want to go too quick.
Would you change number 3 as well?
I would.
What would
I would.
number 3 look like?
Number 3 would look like monitor the number of citations and enforcement actions at our local smoke shops and marijuana dispensaries.
Okay. And give her that verbiage. Are you changing any others?
If I may ask, I just want to make sure that I'm staying up with the discussion, so,
I was going to round back around with you.
okay.
I was just trying to, while you were catching up. Yeah. I'm taking notes, and then we'll catch you up. Sound good? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Dominguez. Any other changes?
I was going to add one, monitor the number of drug-related offenses in the city.
Mhm.
And these are statistics that are not difficult to really draw out.
Do you see this as we're getting data from the staff to do this?
Data from the sheriff's
From the
department.
sheriff's department?
Yeah, or, we could also get data from Argus or other areas.
For the purpose of this work plan, it may be wise to be a little bit less specific in what information you're receiving from the sheriff's office, but make the point that the sheriff's office is going to be reporting publicly on enforcement actions and strategies or something like that.
Okay, so.
So really clear, if I could just rephrase, like you have identify and invite speakers from local organizations. Also, and that could be, have the sheriff's department come and report on all the things that you just said, like that, like receive updates from that and serve a forum for the discussion. So I think that's what you might talk about these other things or ask them to report on these things, but you're saying like, we're going to call and take
For the
work.
public work plan part, right? We want to have a work stream dedicated towards raising these issues up and reporting the data out. And so we're going to host a public meeting. We're going to get stats from the sheriff's office and report on the strategies that they're using in a public forum, right? And roll that up as sort of one deliverable. We're going to do
Okay,
it.
so I think that's a great idea also. So should we list specifically issues related to tobacco, drugs, and alcohol? And so how would you see that phrase, Dan?
I'm looking just at the language I put in that goal for enforcement, right? Public review of enforcement statistics and strategies for, and then whatever we're going for here, right? You're targeting underage purchasing or, control of drug use in vulnerable populations, illegal drug use in vulnerable populations, however we want to capture it.
Can I have that here? In the number 3, where there's 4 question marks, youth and vulnerable adults.
Okay.
Does that work?
Thank you.
And so similarly, you have established a municipal code banning the sales of, you could generalize that to review relevant municipal codes and recommend enhancements.
That one there is one that I'd like to keep as it is because I do not believe we have a municipal code that addresses that issue.
No, I agree with you. I'm just wondering, is that the only municipal code that would make sense to suggest a recommendation for, or are there
Just
other
trying to
ones
be
in this space?
specific. I'm just trying to be more specific. So they might see that and go, we don't have a muni code? Does that? And El Cajon just adopted one, and maybe they could look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, those are, like even the draft letter, I might phrase the draft letter like considering the draft letter or, review the support letter, but those 2 things are things that we're measurable, specific action that we're asking to take. I don't think they can slight us for that. Again, the risk is just, it's a health, and so as it looks at the safety plan. So. Marie, you caught up?
I'm caught up, and I made some notes.
Okay, so I think we're going to evaluate and make recommendations in the city's efforts to reduce use of tobacco, drugs, and alcohol amongst youth and vulnerable adults will be the goal.
And then I'm thinking we have to, like, as Dan said, sort of synopsize the two next into one that gets us to the goal of
The deliverable.
monitoring what the sheriff's department's doing, or at least getting a report, right? What the sheriff's department's doing in an effort to reduce the use of tobacco, drugs, and alcohol amongst youth and vulnerable populations.
Okay.
So you could hold a public hearing to review the sheriff's department strategies for managing this.
I love that. Perfect. That really is succinct, and it gets to what I'm looking at.
Looks suspiciously like 1B.
Does it?
Suspiciously like 1B.
Okay. Marie, did you get that?
So hold a public hearing.
To review sheriff's department strategies in this space.
And then that summarizes
That summarizes 2 is out,
2 and 3.
3 are out, 3 is out.
Okay.
If I may ask, I just want to clarify this. So review their strategies, which strategies, just,
The sheriff's department strategies in reducing the
Use of tobacco, drugs, and alcohol amongst our youth and vulnerable adults.
We need public input. When I'm asking for, people come here every meeting, several of them. On these type of issues, we cannot respond because they're speaking to items not on the agenda. I'm looking at this as a way to have all of their great suggestions on the agenda, and that's the format in which we'll hear from the community about these needs and address them.
I love that. I love being able, if I'm the head or whoever's the next head, being able to say that specifically, why we want this and why it
Right.
needs to be there. And Commissioner Moore, I'm sorry, you've been very patient. What did you want to ask?
A couple questions. Shoulder tap operations. I'm unfamiliar with that term.
Okay. Well, that's when the sheriff's department goes into liquor stores with undercover.
Okay, I'm familiar with that.
Okay.
High school days. Thank you.
But we're taking that out.
Yeah, no.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want clarity. And I believe it was mentioned at the last meeting last week about having sheriff's presence at these meetings that might be able to have direct input onto what we are suggesting and able to, synopsize what we are trying to accomplish. I think that would be a great addition to have one of those folks here.
Yep. I know that they report to city council, so, that's the pushback from that. It's like, if you want to hear the report, you can read what they said, and you can show up and you can hear. So, that's one thing I see why they may not, but they're certainly advocating for a public hearing. That's a different.
Sure. I'm thinking of a way to just really, can we or can we not do this? Can we expect this from you? Is this something that you can provide us and be able to answer those simple questions, right? What tools do they have available to them in regards to many of these?
Right.
I think that would be an asset in the world that I'm used to. We have the police chief and his staff is at the ready for questions. I think it'd be a benefit to us here.
I'm not saying don't put it on there. I'm just saying that if I was sitting on the city council, he's a busy man, and if he's being asked to come here to repeat something that he's already said to something else, then it's sort of, we're not really helping him out. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that as we're developing these goals and strategies, if we can just ask them, hey, is that doable? Do you have the staff to support this? Are we spinning our wheels? Are we actually asking for something that you can accomplish? Not really the report itself, but answer questions that we might have in regards to getting the work done that we're expecting them to do.
Chair Morton, if I could add, the sheriff was supposed to have a representative here tonight, but there was a conflict that they had to go to. Personal conflict, so I don't want to get into it, but they were supposed to be here, and I had to get a text and that they will be at the next one.
Thank you.
So.
If I could just speak to, I'm hoping that they would come more often. I don't know if there's just been, I don't know the reason why, because they were here every time for
Yeah, I think
a
with
long time.
The gap analysis was very much a mayor and council-directed fire gap analysis, so they missed a lot of those special meetings that we were doing. So they do want to be here. They will be here next time.
Understood.
So Marie, I think for the deliverables under this, I think we're still keeping number 1, which is identify and invite speakers from local organizations dedicated to reducing the use of tobacco, drugs, and alcohol in our youth and vulnerable population to address the commission. I think you got the verbiage for the public hearing.
Well, we want to mirror the whole second half, so tobacco, alcohol, drugs, youth, and vulnerable adults, right? So,
Yep.
but I don't know that we need to fully repeat that identical language in all of the deliverables.
Okay. So we could just say invite speakers from local organizations? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
It's not my.
Well, I think we're all talking about this. That makes sense? Yeah. So. But I think the crux of it is making sure we get right is the public hearing one. So how does that look to you?
To clarify, is it identify and invite speakers from local organizations?
That's it. And then you can get rid of the 2 that say monitor next. Monitor the number, yep, you can get rid of those. We hold a public hearing. And then we'd like to add the final 2 that are there as deliverables, which would be draft a letter for city council approval in support of AB 762. And is it our space to establish a municipal code? Is there a different word we want to talk about there?
Maybe recommend establishing, or maybe
Draft? You want to draft? I mean, that's a thing.
explore the feasibility.
Review the ordinances and recommend enhancements.
Draft, I mean, I'm recommending something that doesn't exist, but, right? He's saying, so I think I'm going to stay firm. I think we're talking about drafting.
And I'm trying to
with
be
staff to
specific too, but I like that as well, that we would add something like that to review municipal codes and other ordinances related to this issue.
If I may just share with the commissioners, the city actually has a formal process for the reviewing, updating, and creating of municipal codes that is really driven by city clerk and our city attorney. So there's already a process in place, and if needed, they will work with city staff, kind of in that subject matter expert area, to be able to, again, update or craft any municipal codes.
Because
Okay,
we're not looking at that. We're looking at 3 in the green part. Evaluate and recommendations, tobacco, drugs, alcohol, youth, and vulnerable adults. We want the speakers. We're not just holding a hearing to review the Sheriff's Department strategy. We're looking for public input on the problems and how to address them. The stuff we're hearing here in the non-agendized items. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a public hearing to identify problems and how to resolve them.
Yeah, but we've just moved the conversation on Dan's other. So if you
The
look at-
problem is it shouldn't be a public hearing to review the Sheriff's Department strategies. That's not what we're doing. It's the green part here. That's what the public hearing's doing.
I think the public hearing should do both.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that.
And I think the public hearing is also an opportunity to evaluate recommendations to the EMC code. Right, let's have one big 2-hour special meeting and hammer it all out.
Well, not to get off, I just, hearing the comment from Marie in an effort to parse down, like, the document and not give too much, and looking at something that they might say there's already a city process for, like, establishing municipal codes, can we not send that?
I think that's the process for how to implement it, but the Citizen Advisory Committee's role would be to recommend implementing a municipal code to that
Okay.
effect.
Okay.
And this way, like you said, Marie, the review process would look at that. I mean, somebody would see that and say, hey, maybe this is part of the review process next go around. So it's just bringing it to the forefront and trying to bring some attention to that particular issue. So I would say, recommend review of the municipal code. It might be applicable to banning the sales of vaping devices disguised as pens or other devices. Something like that. Dan, you're good at the verbiage. You're so good at it.
Yeah, maybe recommend potential ordinances to the additional ordinances in the MC code.
She's got something on there.
Okay.
On there. Take a look at that.
We're actually going to review and then recommend, though, right? We do the work of reviewing.
No, I mean, according to Marie, that they already have a process in place for that, so we're just bringing the issue to their attention
Okay.
for review.
We're going to provide a document of what that would look for them,
We can.
right?
We can.
Am I able to just jump in and speak like everybody else?
Yeah.
Because I would think that
Go ahead.
there must be communities out there that have something like this in place. I mean, why reinvent the wheel? So you could, probably through your sheriff's contacts, you could get some information on who does this, and then maybe have a template.
Okay.
Time check.
Yeah, we got the time. We're still going to go through some more work plan items. So I think we have the recommendations there for that one. I'm going to recommend taking a 5-minute break and extending our talk for an hour.
I think I'm going to need to leave. I'm going to take a break and I'll leave.
Okay,
We still have a quorum without me, right?
we do. Okay.
Are we able to accomplish the chair vote before we're down to 4 people?
Yeah,
Should we do that first?
I'm happy before break, we can,
Yes.
right, we move to over that. I think that's a great idea.
So just procedurally, I think you've got to do something if you're going to jump from one agenda item to the other and back to the first one without having closed the first one. So you might seek guidance on that.
Yeah, I
You can-
agree. I'm just gathering my notes.
You can table the item and then open the hearing for 8B.
Yep. Before doing that, we might as well take care of extending our conversation for another hour. That's what I propose.
Gonna have to make a
If
phone call.
needed, if needed.
You need a second? I
Yep.
second the motion.
Anybody opposed?
All right. So we'd like to table agenda item 8A and move over to 8B, election of the new council. My time of service through other things, what I've come to appreciate is that roles like this, it's not so much the person, it's the commission side's the person and is generally the right person for the role. I think that served as the we've served as the right, boldly, the right people for the last year, and I would courageously say that we might be the right people to carry on forward for the next year. I think that there's been some changes that have been made. So the last year seems a bit like a draft run plan. So any learning that I may have gotten, or we may have gotten from the last year, is sort of like, there's a new sheriff in town, so it's like it's all starting over, all over again. And looking back, while I think we have tried to grow in understanding and effectiveness, there's certainly been some things that kind of fell short. And, you know, one of those things is, like, I don't know that I've done a really great job of working well with you, you know, in the job and what we could do better. So I'd like to make a motion that came up from Commissioner Chaz. He has made this recommendation. So he would like to recommend that he would support Commissioner Dominguez, he likes to make this motion, this nomination. He would like to support Commissioner Dominguez as moving from vice chair to chair, with him serving as a vice chair. Is there a second to that? I'll second it. Okay.
And just for clarity, I know you mentioned Commissioner Chesnowskis putting his name out there, but this is a motion that you are making?
Yep.
Okay.
If that needs to be, I think
Needs to be
it's.
somebody in the room.
Well, actually, you can I checked Robert's Rule of Order. You can actually do this. You can submit, and you can do it himself. So,
Just asking for clarity on who.
yeah, so I would add, actually, Commissioner Ches. And then once that, we have any discussion?
The only thing I'd like to say is that I am new here, so I will abstain from this vote. I think I can do that on the machine, correct?
Okay.
I haven't been around long enough to make an informed decision on who the best leader for the commission is, and as such, I'm gonna abstain from this vote, being new to the commission.
Okay.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little scared, but, you know, I'm up for it, and I think that I'll do everything I can to do the best I can. So, yeah, I think I'm ready for it. And with your help as the past chair, I think we could do well.
Just a comment that I think that this will be great, but I hope that, we'll have two people who both come from a, law enforcement, fire, that expertise and that whole thing, instead of having anyone who is we have right now a civilian in a sense, on there. But that's fine because we work as a whole commission anyway. And in effect, the chair runs a meeting and the vice chair fills in if the chair isn't there. But we work together and we represent looking at the whole city, not just a particular neighborhood or area. And so I think that it'll be good, and I appreciate that we have two leaders stepping up to do this. So support it.
Any more comments from anybody? I would just say this. I think I could continue to do a really good job as head. I would enjoy doing the job as head. And I think there could be real benefit in better transparency of working with you as vice chair. I can say that the key experience that I had is walking into a commission that didn't know what they were doing and how they were doing. And now a year later, we have new format and new direction in what we're doing. And so being able to take that experience might be beneficial. So I just ask that you consider that as we go ahead and go to vote on what we'd like to do on this commission, on this. So with that, I'll go ahead and move to vote. The current recommendation.
I'm confused. This says I have voted yay. What I vote?
Yeah, the previous vote wasn't cleared.
Oh, this is approval of minutes. That's what this is. I'm confused because that's all I see here.
Motion text says staff recommends approval.
What's it?
Give me 1 sec.
Melissa, we can just do it by voice too.
That's fine.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yay.
Commissioner Selden?
Yay.
Commissioner Mora?
Abstain.
Commissioner Morton?
No?
And Commissioner Dominguez?
Yay.
And then just as a matter of order, Commissioner Ches, he would vote yay.
But he can't if he's not
He
here.
can, he's not
Yeah.
here? Okay.
So the motion does fail. So there's not,
Why is it fail?
it's 3 yeas, 1 abstention, and 1 no. So we
On a
need
7-person committee.
4.
Oh, okay. So that.
Melissa?
That we just.
Let me confirm real quick on what an abstention means. There are some times in Robert's rules where an abstention means it goes to the positive. So let me just double check that with our clerk.
Good
and
idea.
then I'll get back to you. So
Actually, while we're doing that, I'm going to change my vote to nay. I was influenced by the green Chair Morton yes on the screen.
Let me cancel this one.
then I'll still find out, but that wouldn't have no bearing on this vote then.
That would be continued to the next meeting? Or what happens?
Well,
Well,
if we can get something that
It wouldn't,
vote for,
Yeah.
then it would go. But if we can't, then it would have to. If we get reconsidered at a later date.
Maybe that's just something. We have 2 people on and I need to be going.
Chair, how would you like to proceed with the voting?
I mean, I think we're waiting for an answer if it's over. I mean, if it
Well,
stays, it stays.
with my change of vote, it won't pass. So the question is, do we need 4 yays with an
Yeah.
abstention, or do we need 3 yays with an abstention?
Yeah, and I don't feel I've been here long enough to know,
You know, what I'm thinking is if I change my vote to something, then this would all just go to the next meeting. Yes, no?
No, we're going to finish it today.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And I mean, just, not to be a stickler, it just, the choices is just, are you interested in giving us another shot with our experience doing it and giving us a chance as we reset now? Or do you want to bring in, as it was suggested, moving the vice chair up with him underneath?
So is your motion, we stay with the same chair and vice chair?
Yep.
I'll second it. Call the vote?
Be right back.
Well,
we do that?
doesn't he have to come back, or?
No, he's just checking on what the standard is. We can keep voting all night until we get to 4.
So right now, we haven't voted, so we can just go to this new motion, right?
The previous motion failed, and so there is a new motion. It's been seconded. You can call the vote.
I just want to confirm, the previous motion did fail, correct, Chief?
Was 2 yes, 2 no? Was that what I remember? Sorry, and an abstention.
Yeah.
Correct. So let me,
It was three yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention, but, so that vote is done if you wanted.
So I had changed my vote because the information on the screen was incorrect.
so let's do a revote.
So I'm not going to do the screen this time. I'll do verbal.
So what is the motion now?
Motion is that Vice Chair Dominguez move up to Chair and Commissioner Ches serve as Vice Chair in the coming year.
No, that vote is over.
Nope, we're redoing it.
So yeah, the motion is for Commissioner Dominguez to move up and Commissioner Chesnowskis to be the vice chair.
Correct.
Commissioner Dominguez.
Yay.
Commissioner Morton.
Nay.
Commissioner Mora. Commissioner Selden.
Nay.
And Commissioner Vaughn.
Nay.
Okay, so that motion does fail.
All right, I'd like to propose a motion that the chair stays myself with the Vice Chair Commissioner Dominguez.
Second.
Commissioner Vaughn.
Let me consider that.
Yay.
So is that a yes?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
I'm still
Okay,
contemplating.
okay,
I'm still
okay.
deciding.
So we're going to come back to you. Okay, Commissioner Selden?
Yay.
Commissioner Mora?
Abstain, yeah.
Commissioner Morton?
Yay.
And Commissioner Dominguez?
Yay.
Yay.
Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and we'll come
That
back.
motion did pass.
I'm going to check with my husband.
So you're number 2,
You know, I think you get a different sense when it's a. Yeah. Well, it can, right, it can happen at any age.
And here's another thing you have to realize. We're freaking volunteers, you know? And he has to be careful about how to push your buttons. That's all I'm doing. And we have to be careful too. You know, because somebody says the wrong thing and people just go, I wonder.
Still learning too much.
These are people.
Oh,
Why
I'm
they
still
left? Why they actually left?
Yeah, I wanted, my husband's still in the hospital, so I want to see what's going on. But this is crazy. So this way, we're stable, everything the same for a year.
Yeah,
so.
there was a lot of back and forth,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, we didn't move forward without you understanding.
I hope you're okay with that, but I'm just
Yeah.
too new
Yeah, it's all right.
voting on this kind of shit. But I
I
like it.
don't
Yeah.
have much of an ego, I really don't.
You retired,
I
huh?
want what's really best for
Yeah.
the commission.
There's a lot of
and-
work to be done here.
And,
Congratulations.
you know, the fact
And
that
then
he-
you'll be the chair in the next
Well,
time.
I don't know, but,
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is that, you know, there is a learning curve.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the first year, and that's a difficult place to be.
I mean, one thing that we do in our line
I
of work.
I
probably
would
similar
really
to
like
you.
to be more involved, and if you bring me in, I'd do anything for
Yeah,
it.
you
Let's do
retired
it
now.
together, right? I'll make it a habit of making sure I'm not doing the meetings alone. You know what I mean?
I'd like to learn from you guys if you don't mind, just let me listen.
Just a heads up, you're on a hot mic.
my mic on? Yep, I think we're back from the break now. Commissioner Mora, I know you had some ideas in support from what we received last week. Just for sake of it, I know you expressed adding 2025 closeout objective number 1, number 2, 2026 objective number 1, and number 2. Did you want to make any changes to as it's currently written, or do you like it the way it's written currently?
As is currently written.
As currently written?
And if I may add,
Yep.
I heard early on in this meeting that we want to, lessen the impact of the document and really prioritize. In reviewing the gap analysis, that was very well done. I think some of the other ones that are listed here are almost in completion. So I would think, and if I may ask Chief Gordon what his thoughts are on some of these, you could probably blend into one. I don't know if I can do that or not.
I would just say, like, we received these, we worked on these. I think the deliverables are outlined, so combining them is, unlike maybe some of the others. But,
Okay,
but
yeah.
for these, I think they're aligned really well. I might add, if you had a prioritization that you might think that reflects, that might be a way to go.
Sure, I believe every single one that's listed on here is a noble goal to accomplish. But if I'm going to prioritize,
Yep.
Certainly, I'm going to jump to the 2026 initiatives, and I would think the evaluating of city-operated ambulance transport feasibility study is a priority. As a resident, having our own fire department have a better level of service to the community is critical, and there are other benefits of that, and I know that's something that would be a great benefit to the community in that regard. So I would make that my number one priority.
Okay.
Yeah, in that respect. I think the Firewise Community Certification Program, there's certainly room to be done there. I know we have one in the Liebenhain. I read that document. Again, another very well done document, but there are other opportunities within the community that would benefit from that. Mm-hmm. And I think there's already work been done in that realm. So those two.
Commissioner Moore, if I may.
Yeah.
Just for clarification point, I think that the Liebenhain is a fire safe council.
Yes.
Which is, I think, the 2025 number 2.
Yep.
And you're reading 26 number 1. I wonder if maybe those two are close enough together that they could be combined into one.
Look,
I
yeah,
mean,
you're
with the
correct.
with the redirection, I mean, can
Chief Gordon, may you answer that question for us?
I make any, or would you rather let us deliberate?
Yeah, you guys can combine those. That'd be fine.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. And looking at the 2025 close set objectives, assessment and community input on evacuation high fire weather signage. I know that in the gap analysis, there was some work done, and I've seen the document in regarding to evacuation routes and the such. So I don't know how much work has been done in that realm. This might be a question for Marie. But again, I think that's of critical importance, and this commission and the council placed a high priority on that endeavor. And it seems to me, in reading the documents and the progress that has, unclear on what progress has been made altogether, but some of these goals seem very attainable in short order.
All right. So I think you did not prioritize them for me, except saying they're all important.
Yeah, they all are.
Is that a fair assessment?
It's a fair assessment.
I will just say that Commissioner Ches did bring up the support for fire safe councils and Firewise community development as his top priority of these to get done. So of that, I'd like to put forward that the number 2, if you're in alignment as the top priority
Yes.
of these 4 that you've recommended. And if you had a second backup as a top priority for your recommendation, what would it be? Would it be your a city evaluation of the ambulance transport?
That would be my number 1.
That would be your number 1?
Yes.
But putting the one from Commissioner Ches as number 1, would you be willing to go down to number 2, or would you?
Yeah,
You
I would.
Okay.
I would. That's yeah, I certainly would. And if I may ask a question
Sure.
to the chief, is that allowed?
Yeah.
Should
Whether he
go-
answers it or not, it's another question.
In regards to your 2026, or the 2026 initiatives, the residential Knox box and gate access program, can you elaborate on that for me a little bit, please?
Yeah, so we don't really have a residential Knox box program right now. Most of it is our commercial, or that we have a handful of HOAs or community members that have gates that have come to us. But there are still other gates or residences that might benefit from those Knox boxes so that we can easily access their property. So we want to create a program to go reach out and educate people on the Knox box system and allow them to be part of that program.
Well, I know that response times are critical, and I mean, that's one I'd like to add to the list. I know that we discussed not adding too much, so I don't.
Yeah.
It's a simple one, in my opinion. That's just community outreach and an easy program, but I just don't know the extent of how many of those HOAs you have or those communities here in the city.
Not many.
So it'd be easy. Attainable.
At this point in the night, when we're already down here, I'm going to take the bold mood and say, no, we're not going to put that on.
Okay.
Which is a little less than sort of triaging what we've at. So, Marie, I think I'll give you some time, but I think you have the final, at least draft workup of what we're doing, and we can, in my mind, I think what we would do next is prioritize for the council what we think, because this is definitely bigger than what they're expecting, and we understand that, and we're doing it intentionally with the idea of asking them to say no.
Chair Morton, if you can give me a moment to just update our
Take your time,
tracking sheet. Thank you.
because it's important. This is one of those things, get it right? Measure twice, cut once. Take your time. Dan, I would just add, probably for good measure, just if we can look over the safety element and see if we can really show the alignment for the homeless action plan stuff. I think that'll help connect the dots. Is that the actual, because the way I read it, it was the general plan, I think, or did I miss something? It's possible I missed something. So then, thank you, Oxley. Perfect. Awesome.
But for what it's worth, I do think that the alignment is cleanest to the homeless action plan and the priorities. The safety element is, as we've all said, primarily about fire hazards, things like that. And so I wouldn't want to drop the other alignment aspects.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to drop the other, with the,
This is very much aligned with what the city wants to be doing, whether or not they think it's in our purview to do. We've gotten mixed signals on, but they can make that decision.
The leap in the presentation is, look, we know you said safety element, but when you were talking about this, you were saying you wanted this done and you wanted community involvement, and you have a group of people that are here doing what you want. And so just expand your original thinking, which may have developed since the last time you came at us, which I think it has. I mean, I think that they're in there. It's amazing what can happen in 2 to 3 months, right? In what you think you're going to accomplish, and then you realize what you can do and what you can't do and what you want to do. And because my feedback, everybody on that, they're passionate about trying to find a solution for homeless. I mean, because that's what you look at it, right? No one wants to have egg on their face saying, we're not going to help the homeless. But it gets clarified and qualified.
I would like to really get out of here by 7.
I think we can get my ask, I think, is just a prioritization, right? And an alignment so that we can give some direction and influence any cutting that may happen, right?
Yeah, we are down to 4, so if it's obvious, great, but sure. You know,
Are you suggesting that's not a attainable goal that I just said? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I think we're at the point of diminishing returns on developing the work plan. But if we can get some clear prioritization quickly and easily, sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're left with.
Is it our intent to vote tonight on this work plan?
This is it. Yep,
We do have to have a vote,
yep.
and it has to be unanimous.
It just seems like, we have 4 people here and that's it.
But everything you're looking at is all important stuff we want to do, and what we've been given from council is this is too big of a list. Okay, I mean, that's clear feedback that we've gotten, and we know that going into it, and we have decided that we want them to say no to certain things, and so, I don't need to split hairs on what's the most important if it's all equally important, but it's a chance for the 4 of us that are here to develop a consensus on what, as a council, would be important.
Yeah, take 15 minutes and
Yeah,
get your best shot at it.
yeah.
Now let's vote.
All right.
So just to recap, in the discussion on these items, I highlighted 1, this assessment and community input. And Commissioner Moore, I believe you had asked a question if that's something that we are already doing, to clarify. So some of these items, yes, we are already doing, or they are part of the gap analysis and the action items that came out of the gap analysis.
And I guess my question would be, those items that are identified in the gap analysis, is city staff moving forward on those?
We will be moving forward on them. So
Okay.
if they're on the work plan or not on the work plan, we will be moving forward.
Yeah, because I think I see both on the work plan and on the gap analysis. They complement each other, correct? They're identified in the gap analysis, and as such, we're trying to, they're a prioritization for the Health and Safety Commission to decide.
Correct, yeah. Some of them, though, like the fire safe councils and the firewise communities, that was on the gap analysis, but it's something that staff is not going to be participating in. We
Okay.
will support that outreach, but we're not going to be able to put staff time to build those organizations, right? Because that's not how it works.
Understood.
So that's where we would, kind of overlap that, where you, as the commission, would go out. I know Commissioner Chesnauskas is, really wants to do this too. But he would go out there, get the motivation, get the people, and we would come and show them how it's done and give them the resources to do a good job, right? So that there is a gap there. The evacuation and high weather signage, we are working with the county right now also. Alpine just did this, and just to be completely transparent, it ruffled some feathers throughout the county. So we're going to have to kind of reevaluate the signage and the high fire weather to make it in line with the whole county and not just do our own thing. That way people aren't confused when they go from one community to the next. So,
Understood.
but not to say that that isn't something that we could use as the commission's, help. So.
Okay, thank you.
From a prioritization in terms of our impact in helping you guys, would you say then that the Fire Safe Councils and FireWise is the most impactful thing we can do for you of those 3?
Of the 3, I'm sorry, I missed the
Ambulance.
the ambulance would be the number 1,
Ambulance is number 1?
100%, yep.
That'd be my number 1 as the commissioner as well. That's the one that I put at number 1.
All right, I'm open to, yep. So moved, we'll make that the priority of that.
My apologies, just to confirm that I have transferred each of the items off of the document that's currently showing.
Yep.
I have transferred, do you want to, commissioners, would you like that first, the assessment and community input? Is that being transferred onto the work plan?
It can be
Yes.
transferred, but it'll probably be a low priority.
Low priority.
You can make that the third or the fourth priority, because it's 3 and 4 is kind of the same.
Third and the fourth overall, or of these?
Well, we can, of these for sure, and then we can go wherever in 25 minutes.
We have to vote.
Yep.
Okay, then the other item that I transferred over, I'll just come back over to this document. So is the first item from the document was the evaluation of the city-operated ambulance transport.
Yes.
Next item was the support for the Fire Safe Councils and Firewise Community Development. And then we combined the Firewise USA Community Certification Program in with that goal, so.
Well done.
And then I combined the deliverables from both of those. That's what is in this, in this cell right here. Is that correct? Did I capture that?
You did.
Okay. And then the other item was the assessment, so that's been transferred down.
Just for general discussion, I have a clever idea of prioritizing these. Do you guys want to do that, or would you rather just vote on it as it is right now?
What's your idea?
My idea is to like try to prioritize these in what we think is important as a commission to work on. If you had to cut things away, right? And what would you save? Like, what are we most enthusiastic about working on? And then, having that part of the document, or we can just send it as it is.
You know my 4 top priorities?
Well,
And you know what mine are.
okay. I'll take that feedback to the council, which is fine. I'm happy to do that.
I mean, this way we don't really have to, everybody knows what our priorities are. Let's see what.
What, me need to say?
No, I mean,
I can be.
the council's going to decide.
I can weigh. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a sense of what the feedback's going to be. Move to and take
Let's
a
do one
recommendation.
review just to make sure that
Okay.
that there's not typos or other things that we want to clean up. And then
Marie, you up for running the gauntlet here?
Yes, we'll start up at the top.
I believe in you.
Thank you.
In partnership, do you want to read it or you want me
Oh,
to?
I apologize. You want me to go
We
ahead
don't
and
have to read them out
read them
loud.
out
We're
loud?
not going to read them out loud?
we can read them off the screen, right?
Okay, works for me. We'll just go with, as soon as you're done, just raise your hand so I know we're ready to go on to the next one, just like we were in kindergarten.
Number 4, deliverables, invite Marie to discuss. Is that the deliverable that we're coming forward with, or are we discussing that tonight?
That was what was added to the plan from last week's discussion.
These are the 4 that were already there. The ones we added, right?
Yeah, that's correct. We actually didn't talk about it tonight. I intended to.
I think
I'm
we should talk
assuming,
about
Marie,
that
you didn't
one
want to
for
expand on that. That's significant, and you're willing to do that.
So as part of the responsibilities of
Yeah.
the emergency manager, I'm responsible for updating our hazard mitigation plan, which is done in a 5-year cycle. We are currently starting that process with the County San Diego Office of Emergency Services. In addition to the hazard mitigation plan, I also work, I would say, pretty much on a daily basis in conversation with other team members throughout the city as well as the region, talking about potential hazards or threats to the city. So that's why the last week when we discussed this was I can provide an update on our hazard mitigation plan as well as discussion of emerging hazards or threats.
And how important is this to include in the work plan, or is this one of those that we can just continue doing in the normal course of our business as necessary and appropriate to support you?
Are you coming to us without this in our work plan, or does it need to be in our work plan?
I would respectfully leave that to the commissioners to make that decision.
Right.
If you want one to strike, it sounds like we can give Marie all the support she needs without having it in the work plan.
Okay, works for me. Anybody else opposed to deleting it? Okay,
So just to clarify, I'm going to go ahead and remove this item.
yes, thank you.
To confirm, is there any changes to the first item?
That's actually what I kind of meant. So if you could read the first item and then raise your hand as soon as you're done to review with no comments. So if you don't have any changes to number one, raise your hand, and then we can just move on to the next one.
And my intention is to move approval with minor formatting changes and things like that at the discretion of staff. So
Yep.
let's not deal with that.
Are you good with that one? Yep, raise your hand. All right. We'll go down to the next one on line item number 3. We'll go down to number 4. That's good. We'll go down to number 5. All right, we'll go down to number 6. We'll go down to number 7. Go down to number 8.
Actually, I think we decided to strike that one. That was another one that we could accomplish without it taking up space on the work plan.
Do you remember what section that was under?
That was from mine. That was the 5th one of mine.
Number 5? Yeah, we did. So that number 8 can be struck. Good catch. Now we're on to the new number 8. Okay, we're down to the new number 9. All right, and then the final one. All right, that's the review. Marie, my intention, my thought is to work with you to make sure that we can find as much safety element alignment as possible. I think the commissioners provided some information on that. And then maybe have a discussion about if I'm being clever or just not clever about prioritizing what they may approve or what they may not approve.
So
But
I'd like to recommend.
I don't think that's the intent, though.
I would like to recommend that column D, alignment, be generalized a little bit so that it's more the language of city and more like the language I used, which was alignment with the general plan and council focus areas. I know that we got direction to align with the safety element, but we also got more general direction as well. And so if we are only talking about alignment with safety, we're missing half of the commission's responsibility.
Would you be open to adding a comment that says general plan alignment? So that we have a column that says safety alignment and general plan alignment? So
I don't think you need 2 columns personally. Just put them both in the same column. Just generalize the header. Because if it's got an S in the name, you know it's part of the safety element.
Okay, that's clever. Okay. You see what we're thinking about there?
So just to
Some
clarify,
some of these may not be aligned in the safety element, but they may be in the general element. And so the header would be general plan alignment, And then you would have distinction and understanding if it was a safety element, if the number started with an S, and you'd have understanding if it was just a general plan alignment, if it was with the G, or whatever the heading is in front of it. Is that what you're proposing, Dan?
If it's literally what I'm proposing, I would do alignment with the general plan and council focus areas, and then list where it aligns with what they want to do in the 2025-2026 council work plan, city work plan level, as well as where it aligns with the general plan. And if it aligns with the general plan safety element, it'll be clear through an S.
It just, gosh, I mean, it's just not what they asked for. You know what I mean? Like, you guys have any?
Smart goals A is alignment.
You guys gonna have some discussion about this, or are you gonna let Dan? You're abstaining.
I think we should give them what they asked for,
Okay.
not confuse the issue.
Thank you for the suggestion, Dan. We're gonna keep it as it is. Then, can I get a vote? Anybody want to make a motion? What are we doing? Going to make a vote on that we ask the city staff to submit this with review for any administrative revisions, work with me to fill out the appropriate columns that are currently blank, and then to submit these goals and deliverables as written to the city council review as soon as possible for our 2025-2026 work plan.
I would like a clarification on the
Sure.
on the adding things after we vote on it part.
Yeah.
I'm a little uncomfortable with that.
Okay. There's currently like D and E listed that are blank. So that's the part I was thinking about. Maybe not the prioritization, but we haven't had the time to do the safety element. So that's all I'm saying, is just make sure that we show where it's aligned in the safety element.
I'm a little uncomfortable with adding content without reviewing it in a blank whatever.
Well, that would mean we'd have to go through the entire safety element and try to pick that out. So,
Well, we have some of them, all right? So we can go underneath Dan's for the goal number 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we would identify safety element goal S-1A and policy S-15. I mean, so that's good. And then I think you gave us some already. And thanks, Dan, because I'm probably making it a bigger deal than it really is, so thank you. It's good, because you guys have already done this, so it's not that big of a deal. And then for number 1, Commissioner Dominguez, you highlighted general plan alignment, the 1.5 public education, and 2.2 community engagement.
So those aren't safety element though, right?
I know.
when I went through safety element, I really couldn't find anything sort of related to that. So I just used what the fire department had used that.
I know. We've decided we're going to go forward against this specific direction, so. And then currently we don't have any alignment for. Nope. Okay. Leave that there. Support citywide name, so that's actually listed from that. So the under 6, oh no. So number 6 gets the same as number, yeah, you go down one more, so you can copy and paste. It's either a line, that line, yeah. Well done. And then we've identified for the next one, safety element objective 3. And as written, fire department strategic goals for service delivery and modernization. Look at that. 5 minutes worth of work. Well done.
You can probably shoehorn the drugs and alcohol into the same ones as we're using for homelessness. Promote a culture of emergency preparedness in Encinitas and through comprehensive emergency management and planning. Create and enhance an all hazards outreach education program prioritizing at-risk populations.
Did you print something that I don't have?
The safety element?
I don't have it in front of me.
Chief slapped my wrist for not having done my homework last week, so I did my homework.
Safety element 3 point, objective 3.0.
Number 9 seems well aligned with S1B.
So just to confirm, is showing goal 2? Right now, we
Yes.
don't have, I'm not seeing and I apologize.
I suggested borrowing the same ones that we're using for homelessness, at-risk populations.
And then what were you going to say about goal 9?
One of the overarching safety goals is a community that can easily evacuate, goal S1B.
I'm welcome to add that. S1V seems to be aligned with the goal number 9. One B or V?
B as in boy.
Thank you. Did we get a motion on the table or no?
I'll move adoption with staff having the flexibility of making clerical edits for formatting and clarity.
I second.
Sorry.
Got it this time.
Nope, it isn't. Elect a chair and vice chair to serve one-year terms.
Okay. We will, Okay, we're gonna just do it verbally again. Commissioner Dominguez?
Yay.
Commissioner Morton?
Yay.
Commissioner Mora?
Yay.
And Commissioner Vaughn?
Yay!
And motion passes.
I believe we're done here. No informational items. Anybody? Informational items?
Just an open item that I think we need to agendize for a future meeting is the frequency with which we meet as a commission. That didn't make it onto this agenda, so I assume we can't talk about it tonight. But for a future agenda item, I think we should talk about how often we meet.
Okay.
That would have to be seconded and approved, I think.
Is there a second on that?
I second the motion.
This is not an action item, so if you ask that it's on the agenda, and then actually the next item, the future agenda items,
Yeah, that's
if there's
what
no informational items, we can move on to the future agenda items, and you can just add it.
we were simpatico there. Very well. So done with informational items, future agenda items. Is there a motion?
Yes.
We don't need a motion for adding it. It'll just
Excellent.
be on the next agenda.
Okay, but we
If
have
there's anything
consensus.
else.
Perfect. Commission reports, roundtable.
I got one. Just want to say thank you for being patient with me, showing me how to vote, et cetera. Okay, I'm getting up to speed. Happy to be here. Thank you.
We all are.
Happy to have you. I think I'm belated. I don't think I've actually welcomed you formally to the group, so welcome. I'm glad you're here. Next meeting we're slated to schedule will be September, or August, September. That's what I have in my notes, correct?
September.
Yep, and it's the second Monday in September, third Monday in September. That being said, we'll call the adjournment.
Pleasure working with you folks.
to assist in keeping you, your family, and your home fire safe. Thank you for watching.
My name is Carrie Berberette from the Encinitas Fire Department, and today we're going to talk about candle safety. 3 out of every 5 candle fires are caused by items being placed too close to the candle. It is recommended that you use a flameless candle like this one here. It's battery operated with no flame.